I would define engagement in my classroom as a very active process. It's the process of trying to take something that's very intangible, such as content and theory, and making it very tangible and hands-on for the student. I do this primarily through activity. But the first thing I'd like to do is a mind map exercise. Have any of you ever done a mind map exercise before? Basically, it's a map of your mind. And what it is, it's a Bergen funeral home, but as I pass this around, there are no right or wrong answers. I do not want your name on it. I want you to write down the top 4 thoughts that jumble to the top of your mind that were triggered by the funeral home. I believe students would regard engagement as also an active process. Over the years, I've asked students through many different forums what they would like faculty to do to engage them. And 9 times out of 10, it's a very hands-on activity. The mind map is one of the most fun activities that I use with students on many different levels. It's especially good if it's a sensitive topic. But a mind map is essentially a brain dump of their current ideas or feelings with respect to something we just experienced. For example, I take the students on a funeral home field trip to experience what a funeral home is like. For many of them, they have never been to a funeral home, and it could be very sensitive. The first thing we do when we get back to the classroom is we actually have all the students put down on paper what their top 3 or 4 thoughts were that were triggered by the funeral home visit, sort of their mind map. So what I'd like to do now, we don't have a whole class period, just some of it. I'm going to ask each of you to give me one of the responses that a classmate has written down on their sheet. So let's start with Mia. What do you want to choose?
Space shuttle picture.
Space shuttle picture. How many people noticed the space shuttle picture in the very first room? Interesting. That whole room is dedicated to people we have lost in the government or service in some way, shape, or form. So space shuttle. I'm only going to write probably the first 10 down, and then because this will take too long. Yes?
Quiet and pensive.
Quiet and pensive. Like that's like subtle yet forceful. Quiet, yes, yet pensive. And then we come back as a group and we discuss those. And it's quite fascinating how many people have the same responses, and then how many people have such unique responses that it spurs quite a bit of conversation. Everyone hear that? The cheapest casket was $1,500. Do we really need to be that comfortable? If you do not leave a living will or arrangement plan, which you're doing for this class, and your loved ones are left with the job of doing those for you, who do you think they're doing it more for, them or for you? The students act very positively to different engagement strategies, and actually they come to expect that you're going to give them different engagement strategies. Students that I've had from course to course expect that I'll have speakers come in, or expect that we will have a field trip, or expect that we will have books of the day and, summarize the class material in a 1-minute learning. So they've been very positive, and actually they have said that it has helped them transform the content and theory into real-life knowledge for them. Everybody pass their papers to the left. I want to give you a funeral planning quiz. I have a couple of other exercises, and then we're going to kind of do a top 10 and then a little dyadic exercise. What has been most effective for me in the classroom with the students is actually doing what I term mixing it up, which is actually incorporating 2 to 3 to 4 activities per class time, such as not just a traditional lecture, but to do a lecture with a discussion, do the lecture with a discussion and a video, having a speaker come in, perhaps having the class go out and do a field trip. Top 10 things you can say that you can do to help dying and grief mourning bereavement. Now, I took the top 3 from what feedback you gave me last night, because I thought it was very insightful. You've been paying attention. The first, is there anything I can do? What are some examples of what you might do for a person? So I try to make sure that each class period I at least include 3 or 4 different activities to transform the material in different ways and bring it to life for them. I'd like to end with a poem. We talked about how grief, you know, it's never over, it's just different. We talked about that last night. And we also talked about what we grieve for. And a topic we really didn't bring up last night was grieving for lost dreams. And lost dreams could be anything from something you never experienced to something that you had planned. Maybe you had a trip planned to Italy. Maybe you hoped to build a better relationship with your spouse or your parent and you never did. So I want you to really realize that lost dreams could be anything from what you have experienced to those things that you haven't experienced but you were hoping to in some time. My personality lends itself perfectly to engagement. I could remember sitting back in undergraduate classes and even graduate classes and thinking of all sorts of ways that the instructor could have and maybe should have reworked the information so it would be more concrete to those of us in the audience. The person says, "I am dying. No one likes to talk about such things. In fact, no one likes to talk much at all. I am the one who is dying. I know you feel insecure, don't know what to say, don't know what to do, but please believe me, if you care, you can't go wrong. Just admit that you care. This is what we search for. We may ask for ways and wherefores, but we really don't want answers. Don't run away, wait. All I want to know is that there will be someone to hold my hand when I need it. I'm afraid I've never died before." So does that capture all the things we say that dying people want? Presence of someone else, the touch of someone else, compassion in the words of someone else. So maybe when you're afraid to confront it, just think how much more afraid they are. I think that I naturally tend to transform theory and information in my mind into a very, what could we do with it to make it more meaningful for you and me? Almost like clay and molding it, that I'm just not satisfied with the theory piece of it. I'm much more satisfied with a product in front of me that I could look at and is almost three-dimensional, and I could actually see the value that it could provide me and the students.